2009 was an iconic year, wasn't it? Barack Obama was sworn in as the 44th President of the United States, making history for being the first African American ever to hold the position. It was also the year that Glee hit TV screens, Hannah Montana the movie hit cinemas, and the year that Taylor Swift should have hit Kanye West for rudely interrupting her VMA acceptance speech. What a plonker. It was also a wonderful time to be a gamer, as the absolute smorgasbord of fantastic titles on this list are about to prove. Before we get to our entries, it is our duty to reacquaint you all with the rules. A game counts amongst the greatest of 2009 if it was released in at least one territory in that year and received a minimum of 7 professional reviews. We also don't include ports or re-releases, as we'll cover them in the list relating to their original release year. Sound good? Then let's get to it. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best video games of 2009. Number 10. Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. DS, 91.01%. To say that Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story was a somewhat wacky game would be quite the understatement, as the premise was nothing short of bat-plops insane. After being tricked into eating a magical mushroom by Forful the mad scientist, Bowser ends up with the ability to inhale things in his surroundings, including people. Still bitter from a recent defeat, he heads to Princess Peach's castle and inhales Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Starlo, and several Toads, who are all shrunk down to microscopic size and forced to work with Bowser in order to save the Mushroom Kingdom from Forful. Like I said, bat-plops. Regardless of its slightly strange storyline, Bowser's Inside Story was still a brilliant game. In fact, several reviews actually called out the plot as one of the game's many highlights, lauding the developers' narrative innovation and their willingness to poke fun at the RPG genre. Critics also praised the gameplay, which saw Mario, Luigi, and Bowser all working together to solve puzzles and defeat enemies, as well as the turn-based combat and the focus on Bowser as one of the protagonists. The game was nothing short of surreal, but if you allowed yourself just to roll with it, you'd have been in for one heck of a ride. Number 9. Grand Theft Auto Episodes from Liberty City. Xbox 360, 91.41%. We usually don't include compilations on these lists, but since Grand Theft Auto Episodes from Liberty City was comprised of 2 games which both released in 2009 and which were both excellent, we're willing to give it a pass. Episodes from Liberty City contained 2 Grand Theft Auto 4 standalone expansions, The Lost and the Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony. Both take place alongside the events of GTA 4 and tell different stories from across Liberty City. The Lost and the Damned follows Johnny, the vice president of the Liberty City chapter of a motorcycle gang, who must deal with the group's internal struggles, gang wars, and drug running in order to try to keep everything together. The Ballad of Gay Tony focuses on bodyguard Luis, as he attempts to help his friend Tony to overcome drug problems, debt, and disputes with the mafia. It also helps that both stories tie up loose ends from the diamond heist in GTA 4. Episodes from Liberty City received nothing but praise from critics, who were pleased with the game's new storylines and characters, audio-visual presentation, voice acting, and the laugh-out-loud humor. Each game was brilliant on its own, but bringing them together into one great value package was a stroke of genius. Number 8. Forza Motorsport 3. Xbox 360, 92.26%. It wouldn't be a best games of list without some vroom vroom car action, and so here's Forza Motorsport 3 to represent the wheelie automobile genre. The second Forza sequel bore a number of similarities to its predecessors. Players start out by choosing a relatively basic car, and by taking part in races they can earn credits which can be used to spruce up their vehicles. I hear that's the technical term. Or buy themselves a fancier one. The gameplay was supplemented with several features that were brand new for Motorsport 3, including a selection of stock cars, the abilities to paint and upgrade all vehicles, and a single-player season mode that came with over 200 events. The game also came with a whole bunch of new accessibility features, such as an assist mode, which allowed differently abled players to get in on all of the fun. Everything from Motorsport 3's presentation to its gameplay garnered critical acclaim, with one reviewer calling it one of the best racing games of the generation. At the time of writing, Forza Motorsport 3 remains the best reviewed entry in the series, and it's going to take something really special in a future title to knock it off that top spot. Number 7. Batman Arkham Asylum. Xbox 360, 92.34%. Holy bat-nerps, guys! It's only one of the greatest superhero games of all time! Over the years, there have been a plethora of games based on the exploits of the Caped Crusader, but until 2009, few had really done the hero justice. And you know Batman, he's all about justice! That all changed with the release of Rocksteady's Batman Arkham Asylum, a game that is often cited amongst the best of all time. The game is set in the eponymous Arkham Asylum and opens with the incarceration of the Joker, or so we think, because it isn't long before the Joker pulls the old old switcheroo, traps Brucey Dubs inside the asylum and sets his legions of goons on a rampage. Armed with various bat gadgets, old bats must traverse the labyrinthine asylum, lay down some smackdown on the parade of comic book villains and put a stop to Joker's schemes. Batman Arkham Asylum received universal critical acclaim when it hit consoles in August 2009, with critics and players alike praising everything from its gameplay mechanics and combat system to its story. In particular, reviewers were pleased with the game's stealth elements, its polished visuals, and the outstanding performances of the voice cast, especially those from Kevin Conroy, Arlene Sorkin, and Mark Hamill. Number 6. Minecraft. PC. 92.79%. We were somewhat surprised to see Minecraft amongst the best of 09, not because it isn't a spectacular game, but because it didn't actually get a full release until 2011. Clearly though, the early versions were good enough to earn the game fabulous review scores, so we're happy to welcome Minecraft onto today's list. Developed by Mojang Studios, Minecraft is a sandbox title that gives players the freedom to do more or less anything they'd like. The player character is plonked down into a procedurally generated world and must find materials and build things in order to survive. Trees can be punched until they yield wood, which can then be transformed into a workbench, planks, and a number of simple, easily broken tools and weapons. Once you're armed with a pickaxe, you can start mining stone, which can be turned into stronger tools and can then mine for even better materials, and before you know it, you've sunk several hundreds of hours into the game and have your own castle made of diamonds. Critics were hugely impressed by Minecraft's level of freedom and praised the complex crafting system for giving players tons of different options. The game's iconic graphics were also lauded, as was the multiplayer. Even in its earliest phases, Minecraft was something truly special, and the industry clearly recognized that from day one. Number 5. Flipnote Studio. DS. 93%. When you were young, did you ever create little animations by doodling in the corner of several pages of a notebook, then flipping through them very quickly? If so, then you'd have loved Flipnote Studio. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ben, can Flipnote Studio really be considered a game? It seems more like a piece of creative software. To that I say, we don't have the time to debate what makes a game, and it's good enough for Metacritic, so it's good enough for me. Glad we cleared that up. Flipnote Studio had a whole bunch of different functions, including a notepad and a calendar, but its major selling point was that it allowed players to create their own animations using the DS stylus and touchpad. You'd simply start by drawing something, then the game would allow you to trace it in different positions, effectively creating frames for a short animated clip. The tooling was quite simplistic, making it accessible to novices, but could still be used to make detailed animations. You could even add sounds if you wanted to. The possibilities were endless. What was perhaps most astounding about Flipnote Studio was the fact that it packed in so many features and didn't cost players a single penny. Bargain. Number 4. Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. DS. 93%. 2 Grand Theft Auto entries in one list. My, what a treat. Indeed, it would seem that the folks over at Rockstar had a busy old year in 2009, as not only did they release 2 episodic follow-ups to GTA 4 and the PSP mixing title Beta Rater, but they also bestowed Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars upon the world. Somebody fetch those guys a cup of tea and a biscuit, they've earned it. Like GTA 4, The Lost and the Damned, and The Ballad of Gay Tony, Chinatown Wars was also set in the fictional Liberty City. The main campaign centers on Huang Li, a young triad member, as he attempts to recover a stolen sword which had been gifted to him by his late father. Not only was Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars one of the best games of 2009, but according to the good folks over at Metacritic and Game Rankings, it was the best reviewed Nintendo DS game of all time. It was beautifully presented, pushing the limits of what the DS could achieve, the gameplay was nice and varied, and the whole thing was brimming with stuff to do. Basically, Chinatown Wars was all of the things players loved about the Grand Theft Auto series, but fun-sized, just like our tiny Peter. Number 3. Street Fighter 4. PS3. 94%. Sometimes games that start out life as arcade cabinets don't do so well once they make the leap to home consoles. Then there are others like Street Fighter 4 that take to home consoles like a fish to water. Chronologically, Street Fighter 4 takes place between the events of Street Fighter 2 and 3 and sees the SIN Corporation spinning up a new fighting tournament in order to lure the most powerful fighters on Earth. However, their real intention is to get their hands on Ryu in order to analyze his Satsui no Hado in the hopes that it will complete the BLECE project. Street Fighter 4 retained many of the classic elements of previous Street Fighter games, but still added in lots of hot and fresh ideas. Amongst the added features were several special moves, online gameplay, and brand new, never-before-seen characters such as Crimson Viper, Abel, El Fuerte, and Rufus. Critics lauded Street Fighter 4, praising developers Capcom and Dimps for retaining the spirit of the series' previous games while still bringing new ideas to the party. The game went on to win a buttload of awards, including the Fighting Game of the Year accolade at the 2009 Spike Video Game Awards. Number 2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. PS3. 94%. We've said in previous lists that it's not very often that a sequel is able to live up to the legacy created by its predecessor, but games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 keep coming along and disproving our theory. Stop proving us wrong, games industry. You know how much we hate being wrong. The main story campaign focuses on two separate military units, Task Force 141, who are on a mission to hunt down Vladimir Makarov, leader of the Russian ultra-nationalist party, and the US Army Rangers, who must defend Washington, D.C. from Russian invasion. The party didn't stop once the campaign was over, though, as Modern Warfare 2 came with several outstanding multiplayer modes, each with a variety of maps, and the Spec Ops mode, which gave players 23 additional levels to play through, either solo or with one of their pals. Although some critics complained about the campaign's short length, which admittedly did only clock in at around 6.5 hours, they found little fault anywhere else. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was stunningly presented, action-packed, and full to the brim with content that kept players coming back to the game time and time again. Number 1. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. PS3, 96.43%. If you're like us, you were probably astounded that Nathan Drake's first outing didn't garner review scores high enough to chart amongst the best games of 2007. After all, Uncharted Drake's Fortune was a wonderful action-adventure title with a great story and top-notch presentation. Not to worry though, because Naughty Dog clearly saw the game's review score and decided to not get bitter, but instead to get better. They didn't just get better though, they ended up creating the absolute best game of 2009. Well done, guys! Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is set 2 years after Drake's Fortune, and players catch up with Nathan Drake as he, Elena Fisher, and Chloe Fraser try to track down the Chintamani Stone and the fabled city of Shambhala, all whilst battling Zoran Lazarevic and his militia. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves released in October 2009 to universal critical acclaim. A whopping 41 publications gave the game a perfect score, with several citing its stunning world, deep storyline, and rich cast of characters and visual presentation as reasons for doing so. Not only was it the best game of 2009, but it was also the best reviewed PlayStation 3 exclusive ever released. Nice work, Naughty Dog. Give yourselves a big pat on the back.